My hands shook as I parked my old, beaten-up Honda across the street from my parents' house. Through the window, I could see my family laughing and celebrating inside. It was Thanksgiving, and everyone was there, everyone except me. They hadn't invited me this year. My name is Maya Williams, and I'm 28 years old. 5 years ago, my family rejected me because I made a choice they couldn't accept. I decided not to go to college. College is everything, my father had shouted when I told him. Without a degree, you're nothing. You'll be a failure your whole life. Especially as a woman, you need education to compete. My mother had cried. My older sister Jennifer, the successful lawyer, had shaken her head in disappointment. My brother Marcus, the doctor, had called me foolish and irresponsible. Don't come back until you fix your mistake, my father had said, his voice cold and final. Until you go to college and make something of yourself, you're not part of this family. That was 5 years ago. 5 long, difficult, painful years. I still remembered that day clearly. I was 23, fresh out of high school with excellent grades. Everyone expected me to follow my siblings to university, but I had different dreams. I want to start my own business, I had told them at dinner. I've been learning about technology and apps. I have ideas that could really work. Ideas? My father had laughed, but it wasn't a kind laugh. You need education, not ideas. Look at your sister and brother. They went to the best schools. They have real careers. That's what success looks like. But Dad, some of the most successful people in tech never finished college. Don't give me that nonsense, he had interrupted. Those are rare exceptions. And Maya, you're a young woman. The world is already harder for women. You need every advantage you can get. You need a degree. You need credentials. Without them, no one will take you seriously. I can prove myself through my work. You're being naive and foolish, my mother had said, her voice sharp. We didn't raise you to throw away your future on silly dreams. You're going to college, and that's final. But I couldn't do it. Something inside me knew that college wasn't my path. I had taught myself computer programming at 15. I had built my first app at 17. I understood technology in a way that excited me, that made me feel alive and powerful. So I refused to go to college. That's when everything fell apart. My family stopped talking to me. My father wouldn't answer my calls. My mother would cry whenever I visited, begging me to fix my life and stop being stubborn. Jennifer and Marcus treated me like I had shamed the entire family. At family gatherings, I was the topic of whispered conversations. Poor Maya, they would say. Such wasted potential, such a disappointment. If only she would listen to reason. The worst part was holidays. The first Thanksgiving after our fight, I showed up at the door with a pie I had baked myself. My father answered, looked at me coldly, and said, "Have you enrolled in college yet?" "No, but Dad, I've been working on." He closed the door in my face. I stood there for a long moment, holding that pie, feeling smaller than I ever had in my life. Then I went back to my tiny apartment and ate Thanksgiving dinner alone, crying into my cheap frozen meal while watching other families celebrate on TV. That happened every year for 5 years. Those 5 years were the hardest of my life. I worked 3 jobs to pay rent, waitressing at a diner during the day, cleaning offices at night, and doing freelance coding work whenever I could find it. I lived in a studio apartment so small that my bed touched the kitchen counter. The heating barely worked in winter. The air conditioning didn't work at all in summer. I ate ramen noodles and pasta for dinner most nights. I wore the same 5 outfits over and over because I couldn't afford new clothes. Some nights I would lie in bed and cry, wondering if my family was right. Maybe I was being foolish. Maybe I should give up and go to college like they wanted. But every spare moment, every extra dollar, I poured into my dream. I was building an app, a revolutionary app that would change how people managed their small businesses. It combined accounting, inventory, customer management, and scheduling into one simple, beautiful interface. I called it Bizizi. I worked on Bizizi every night until 3 a.m., then woke up at 6 a.m. to go to my waitressing job. My eyes were always red from exhaustion. My body always ached from standing all day. My hands were rough from cleaning chemicals. My friends from high school had moved on with their lives, college, careers, relationships, marriages. I had nothing but my code and my dream. "You should give up," my roommate Sarah told me one night. "You've been working on that app for 3 years. Nothing's happened. Maybe your family is right. Maybe you should go to college. It's not too late." "I can't give up," I said, my fingers flying across my old, slow laptop keyboard. "This is going to work. I know it will." Sarah shook her head. "You're going to waste your whole life on a dream that will never come true. And as a woman in tech, it's even harder. The odds are against you." Maybe she was right. Maybe I was foolish. But I couldn't stop. Something deep inside me knew that Bizizi was special, that it would work if I just kept pushing forward. Then, 4 months ago, everything changed. I had finally finished Bizizi and released it to the App Store. For 2 weeks, nothing happened. 10 downloads, 20, 50, all friends or people who accidentally clicked on it. I was starting to think Sarah was right. Maybe I should give up. Maybe I should accept defeat and go crawling back to my family, admit they were right, and enroll in college. Then a business blogger named David Martinez discovered Bizizi. He ran a popular website about small business tools and technology, and he wrote a detailed review of my app. "Bizizi is the app every small business owner has been waiting for," his review said. "It's simple, powerful, elegant, and solves problems that expensive software has been failing to solve for years. What's more impressive is that it was built by a self-taught female developer named Maya Williams. This app is going to be huge, and Maya is a name you'll be hearing a lot more of." Within 24 hours, I had 10,000 downloads. Within a week, 100,000. Within a month, 2 million. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. My email inbox exploded. Everyone wanted to know about Bizizi and the woman who created it. Suddenly, investors wanted to meet with me. Tech companies wanted to buy Bizizi. Venture capitalists were calling me day and night. Everyone who had ignored me before suddenly wanted a piece of what I had built. I met with dozens of people in coffee shops and fancy offices, still wearing my old waitress clothes because I didn't own anything better. They looked at me like I was nobody, like I was just a poor girl who got lucky. Some of them were openly skeptical. "Did you really build this yourself?" one investor asked. "Or did you have help from a boyfriend or male partner?" I looked him straight in the eye and said, "I built every single line of code myself, every feature, every function, it's mine." But then they saw my code. They saw how elegant Bizizi was, how well it worked, how much potential it had. And their attitudes changed from skeptical to impressed to desperate. "We'll give you $5 million for your app," one company offered. $10 million, said another. $15 million, and a job as head of product development, said a third. $20 million, plus we'll make you the youngest female VP in our company's history, offered a fourth. I turned them all down. Bizizi was mine. I had built it with my own hands, my own mind, my own determination. I wasn't selling it to anyone for any price. Instead, I took on investors who believed in my vision and let me keep control of my company. I hired a small team of talented developers, both men and women who shared my passion for creating great technology. I rented a real office in the tech district. I moved my company from my tiny apartment to a beautiful space with glass walls and modern furniture. And I kept improving Bizizi, making it better and better every day. Within 3 months, Bizizi had 10 million users. We charged a small monthly fee, just $10 per business. That meant we were making $100 million per month in revenue. I couldn't believe it. I, Maya Williams, the college dropout, the family disappointment, the girl who had been rejected and cast aside, was running a company worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I paid off all my debts. I moved out of my tiny apartment into a beautiful house with a garden and a view of the city. I bought new clothes, designer clothes, that made me feel confident and powerful. I ate at nice restaurants instead of surviving on ramen. I could afford to get my hair done professionally. I could buy books and art and all the little luxuries I had dreamed about during those hard years. But I didn't tell my family. They still wouldn't speak to me. They still thought I was a failure, probably still waitressing somewhere, still struggling and suffering. Part of me wanted to call them, to tell them I had succeeded beyond anyone's wildest dreams. But another part of me, a hurt, angry part, wanted them to discover it on their own. I wanted them to realize what they had missed, what they had rejected. Business magazines started writing about me. Maya Williams, the self-taught developer who built a $500 million company, read one headline. How one woman's determination created the app everyone's talking about, said another. Tech conferences invited me to speak. Universities, the same universities that my family had wanted me to attend, invited me to give lectures about entrepreneurship and innovation. The irony wasn't lost on me. The institutions my family had worshipped were now asking me, a dropout, to teach their students. I accepted some of the speaking invitations. I stood on stages in front of thousands of people and told my story. I talked about following your dreams even when everyone tells you you're wrong. I talked about believing in yourself when no one else does. Young women would come up to me after my speeches, their eyes shining with hope and determination. "You inspired me," they would say. "If you could do it, maybe I can too." Those moments made all the struggle worth it. Thanksgiving was coming again. The 5th Thanksgiving since my family had rejected me. I heard through a cousin named Lisa, who still secretly talked to me, that my parents were having their usual big celebration. Everyone would be their aunts, uncles, cousins, my sister and brother with their perfect lives and impressive careers. Everyone except me, of course. I wasn't invited. "They still talk about you sometimes," Lisa had told me on the phone. "Your mom gets sad around the holidays. I think she misses you, but your dad is still stubborn. He says you made your choice and you have to live with it." "What do they think I'm doing now?" I asked. Lisa hesitated. "I think they assume you're still struggling, still working odd jobs. They think you'll eventually give up and come back and apologize." That's when I decided this year would be different. This year, I would show them exactly what they had missed. This year, I would make them see what their rejection had created. I started planning my arrival carefully. It had to be perfect. It had to be unforgettable. It had to show them, in a way they could never deny, that I had succeeded beyond their wildest dreams. And I knew exactly how to do it. I went to the most expensive car dealership in the city. The showroom was full of luxury vehicles, Mercedes, BMWs, Bentleys. The salesman looked at me skeptically when I walked in wearing jeans and a nice blouse. I looked young and I was alone. He probably thought I was just browsing. "Can I help you?" he asked, his tone polite but not particularly enthusiastic. "Yes," I said calmly. "I'd like to buy a limousine, a custom one. Money is no object." The salesman's eyebrows rose. "A custom limousine? Miss, those start at around $100,000 and can go much higher depending on the specifications." "I want the best," I interrupted, pulling out my black credit card. "I want it to be spectacular. I want it to cost $200,000. Can you do that?" The salesman's entire demeanor changed. His eyes widened as he looked at my credit card, the kind only the very wealthy have. Yes, ma'am. Yes, we can absolutely do that. When would you need it by?" "I need it finished in 2 weeks, for Thanksgiving." 2 weeks is very tight for a custom build, but for a client willing to pay premium price, I'm sure we can make it happen. Over the next 2 weeks, I worked closely with the dealership to design the perfect limousine. I wanted it to be elegant, but also impossible to ignore. It was a stretched Mercedes, gleaming pearl white with gold accents and trim. The exterior was stunning, but the interior was even more impressive. Cream-colored leather seats, soft as butter, a mini bar with crystal glasses, a state-of-the-art sound system, ambient lighting that could change to any color, a small chandelier hanging from the ceiling, fresh flowers in crystal vases. It was excessive. It was over the top. It was absolutely perfect. "This is one of the most beautiful vehicles I've ever worked on." the salesman told me when it was finished. It's like something a movie star or a princess would drive. May I ask what the special occasion is? I'm going to a family dinner, I said with a mysterious smile. He looked confused. Why would someone need a $200? Zero limousine for a family dinner, but he was too professional to ask more questions. Thanksgiving morning arrived cold and crisp and beautiful. I woke up early in my gorgeous house, my heart pounding with nervous excitement. Today was the day. Today I would face my family again after 5 years of silence and rejection. I dressed very carefully. I wanted to look successful but also elegant and feminine. I chose a designer dress in deep burgundy. It had cost $3,000 and fit me perfectly. I wore diamond earrings and a simple gold necklace. I had my hair professionally styled in soft waves. I had a manicure the day before, my nails painted a classic red. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. I looked sophisticated, confident, powerful, like someone who mattered, like someone who had won. You can do this, I told my reflection. You've earned this moment, you've earned your victory. At 2 p.m., my driver arrived, a professional chauffeur I had hired for the day. He was an older gentleman, very proper and respectful. Good afternoon, Miss Williams, he said, opening the door to the limousine. You look absolutely lovely. Thank you, I said, settling into the luxurious back seat. Where are we going today? I gave him my parents' address, my childhood home, the place where I had been loved, then rejected, the place where my heart had been broken. The drive took 30 minutes. With every mile, my heart beat faster. What would they say? What would they do? Would they even recognize me? Would my mother cry? Would my father apologize? Or would they find some way to dismiss my success, to make it seem like it didn't matter? I didn't know, but I was about to find out. We turned onto my parents' street. Nothing had changed. The same old houses. The same trees I used to climb as a child. The same sidewalks where I learned to ride my bike. I could see my parents' house at the end of the block, cars packed into the driveway and along the curb. The whole family was there, just as Lisa had said they would be. Pull up right in front of the house, I instructed the driver. Slowly, I want everyone to see. Yes, ma'am. The limousine glided down the street like a white and gold dream. People working in their yards stopped and stared. Kids playing basketball paused their game to watch, their mouths hanging open. A $200,000 limousine doesn't come down middle-class suburban streets very often. We stopped directly in front of my parents' house, the engine purring softly. I could see faces in the windows, people noticing the limousine. I saw my little cousin Emma press her face against the glass, her eyes huge with wonder. I saw my Aunt Patricia peek through the curtains, her hand over her mouth in surprise. The driver came around and opened my door with a professional flourish. I took a deep breath, then stepped out slowly, gracefully, giving everyone time to see. I looked like royalty. I looked like a CEO. I looked like success personified. The front door of my parents' house burst open, and people poured out onto the porch. My mother gasped, her hand flying to her chest. My father's face went pale, his eyes wide with shock. Jennifer and Marcus stood frozen like statues, their mouths open in disbelief. I stood beside the limousine, the autumn breeze gently moving my hair, the sun making my jewelry sparkle. For a long moment, nobody moved. Nobody spoke, they just stared. Maya, my mother whispered, her voice barely audible. Is that you? I walked up the driveway slowly, my high heels clicking on the pavement with each step. The whole family stared at me in stunned, absolute silence. Some of them looked like they might faint. Hello, Mom, I said, my voice calm and controlled despite my racing heart. Hello, Dad. Hello, Jennifer. Hello, Marcus. Hello, everyone. What is all this? My father stammered, gesturing helplessly at the limousine, at my dress, at everything. What's going on? Where did you? How did you? I thought I'd stop by for Thanksgiving, I said pleasantly. I know I wasn't invited, but I wanted to share some news with the family. I hope that's okay. My mother looked like she was going to cry. Jennifer's face had gone completely white. Marcus was shaking his head like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Everyone started talking at once. Questions flew at me from all directions like a storm. Where did you get that car? How can you afford a dress like that? What happened to you? Did you finally go to college? Did you marry someone rich? Are you working for a wealthy family as their assistant or something? That last question from my Aunt Patricia made me smile. Even now, even seeing me arrive in a $200,000 limousine, they assumed I couldn't have earned this success myself. They assumed I must be working for someone else or had married into money. I held up my hand, and surprisingly, everyone fell silent. They were all watching me with a mixture of shock, confusion, and curiosity. No, I said clearly, looking directly at my father. I didn't go to college. I did exactly what you told me not to do. I followed my dream. I built my business. And I succeeded, all by myself. 5 years ago, you told me I was nothing without a college degree. I continued, my voice steady and strong. You said I would be a failure my whole life. You said that as a woman, I especially needed education to succeed. You rejected me, cast me out of this family, and left me to struggle alone. My mother's eyes filled with tears. Maya, we were just trying to help. Help, I laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. You shut the door in my face, Mom. You wouldn't take my calls. You treated me like I was dead. For 5 years. 5 years I spent working 3 jobs, living in poverty, crying myself to sleep because my own family had abandoned me. My father's face was red. We thought tough love would make you see reason. We thought you'd come back and... Well, here's what your tough love created, I interrupted, my voice rising with emotion. While you all were here having your perfect family celebrations without me, I was working 3 jobs and coding until 3 a.m. every night. I was building something. I was creating something. I built an app called Bizeezy. Maybe you've heard of it. Jennifer gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Bizeezy, that's your app. You're Maya Williams, the founder of Bizeezy, Marcus asked, his voice incredulous and stunned. That app is everywhere. Every business magazine has been writing about it. They called you one of the most innovative young entrepreneurs in the country. The Maya Williams, my Aunt Patricia said faintly. The one who was on the cover of Tech Today magazine last month. Yes, I said simply calmly. That's my app, my company, my success. Built without a college degree, built without your support, built alone. With nothing but my determination and my skills. My father looked like he might collapse. His face had gone from red to pale gray. But that company is worth about $850 million at last valuation, I finished for him. Though we're in talks with investors who might push it over $1 billion, my personal net worth is somewhere around $400 million. I haven't checked recently. The silence that followed was absolute and profound. You could have heard a pin drop on the grass. Several people looked like they had stopped breathing. My little cousin Emma broke the silence. You're a millionaire, she asked, her voice full of awe. Yes, sweetie, I said, smiling at her gently. I am. That limousine out there, I continued, looking at each family member in turn. It cost $200,000. I bought it with cash specifically for today. I own a house worth $3 million. I have more money than I could spend in several lifetimes. And I did it all without a college degree. I did it all after my family rejected me and told me I was worthless. I did it all alone. Tears were streaming down my mother's face now, ruining her makeup. Maya, we're so sorry. Are you? I asked, and my voice was hard, colder than I had ever spoken to my mother before. Are you sorry you rejected me? Are you sorry you abandoned your own daughter when she needed you most? Or are you just impressed by the money and the success? We were wrong, Jennifer said, stepping forward. Her eyes were red. Maya, we were so wrong. I was wrong. I should have supported you. I should have believed in you. I'm sorry too, Marcus added, his voice breaking. You're my little sister. I should have been there for you. Instead, I judged you and abandoned you. I'm so ashamed. My father stepped forward slowly, like he had aged 10 years in 10 minutes. For the first time in 5 years, I saw genuine emotion in his eyes. Not anger, not disappointment, but deep, profound shame and regret. "You're right," he said quietly, his voice thick with emotion. "We were wrong. I was wrong. I thought I knew what was best for you. I thought college was the only path to success. I thought that as your father, it was my job to push you onto the right path." He paused, wiping his eyes. I had never seen my father cry before. "But I was a fool," he continued. "You proved that there are many paths to success. You proved that determination and talent and hard work matter more than any degree. You had the courage to follow your dreams even when everyone, especially your own father, told you not to. And you succeeded beyond anyone's wildest dreams." "I'm sorry," my mother sobbed, reaching out toward me but not quite touching me, like she was afraid I might disappear. "I'm so sorry. We should have supported you. We should have believed in you. We should have loved you no matter what choices you made. Can you ever forgive us?" The entire family was crying now. Even my usually stoic Uncle Robert had tears in his eyes. They all looked genuinely sorry, genuinely ashamed of how they had treated me. I stood there in my expensive dress and my diamond earrings, looking at my family. They all looked sorry now. They all wanted forgiveness. But where had they been when I was struggling? Where had they been when I was eating ramen for dinner every night and working until I collapsed from exhaustion? Where had they been when I was crying myself to sleep, feeling worthless and alone? Part of me wanted to turn around, get back in my beautiful limousine, and drive away forever. Part of me wanted revenge to reject them as they had rejected me, to make them feel the pain I had felt. But another part of me remembered that these were still my family. These were the people who had raised me, who had taught me to read, who had celebrated my birthdays and cheered at my school plays. They had made a terrible, cruel mistake, but they were human, and humans make mistakes. I thought about all those young women who had come up to me after my speeches, telling me I had inspired them. Could I tell them to do in this situation? Would I tell them to hold onto anger and bitterness? Or would I tell them that forgiveness takes more strength than revenge? "I didn't come here just for revenge," I said finally, my voice softer now. "Yes, I wanted you to see that I'm not a failure. I wanted you to see what you missed, what you rejected. I wanted you to understand that you were wrong about me." I paused, taking a deep breath. "But I also came because despite everything, you're still my family. You're still the people who raised me and loved me for the first 23 years of my life. And I've learned something important over these past 5 years. Success without people to share it with is hollow. Money doesn't fill the empty space where family should be." "Does that mean?" my mother said hopefully, her voice trembling. "Yes," I said, and I felt tears starting to form in my own eyes now. "I can forgive you, but things have to change. You have to accept that my path is different from the traditional path. You have to respect my choices even when you don't understand them. You have to trust me to live my own life." "We will," my father said immediately. "I promise you, Maya, I will never doubt you again. I'm so proud of you. Not because of the money or the success, but because you had the courage to believe in yourself when no one else did. That takes real strength I didn't have. I'm proud to call you my daughter." My mother rushed forward and hugged me tightly, sobbing into my shoulder and probably ruining my expensive dress with her tears. I didn't care. I hugged her back, feeling 5 years of pain and loneliness start to heal. My father wrapped his arms around both of us. Jennifer and Marcus joined in, and soon my whole family was hugging me, apologizing, telling me how proud they were and how much they had missed me. Little cousin Emma tugged on my dress. "Maya, can I sit in your limousine?" she asked with big, hopeful eyes. I laughed through my tears. "Of course you can, sweetie. Everyone can." "Come inside first," my mother said, wiping her eyes and trying to pull herself together. "Have Thanksgiving dinner with us, please. It hasn't been the same without you. The table has felt empty for 5 years." We all went inside, and for the first time in 5 years, I sat at my family's Thanksgiving table. The house smelled like turkey and stuffing and pumpkin pie, all the smells I remembered from childhood. The food tasted better than any expensive restaurant meal I had eaten in my new wealthy life. The conversation was warm and genuine and full of laughter. My family asked about Bizizi, about my life, about my plans for the future, about what it was like to be a successful entrepreneur. And this time, they actually listened. They didn't lecture. They didn't judge. They just listened and learned and celebrated who I had become. After dinner, as the sun was setting and painting the sky in beautiful shades of orange and purple, I took my family outside to see the limousine up close. The kids climbed inside, marveling at the leather seats and the chandelier and the crystal glasses. "It's like a palace on wheels," Emma squealed with delight. My father pulled me aside, his arm around my shoulders. "I'm proud of you, Maya," he said quietly. "Not because of the money or the limousine or the success, but because you had the courage to believe in yourself when no one else did. You followed your heart even when it meant losing your family. That takes incredible strength." "Thanks, Dad," I said, and I meant it. Those words meant more to me than any amount of money. "Will you come back for Christmas?" he asked hopefully. "And maybe you could come over for regular Sunday dinners, like we used to do when you were young. I've missed having my daughter in my life." Tears filled my eyes again. "Yes, I'd like that very much." "And next time," he said with a small smile, "you don't have to arrive in a $200,000 limousine. You can drive your regular car, although I have to admit this was quite an entrance. The neighbors are still talking." I smile and enter my limo and bid them goodbye.